In this video, I'm going to work with an HTML page that has an SVG element and some JavaScript that generates a design based on Victor Vasarely's, I'm going to call it Procion, particularly this design down here with the circles and the little squares. So here's my variation on that theme. I've got the little squares and they're dynamic. They're moving sort of back and forth. Okay, so how did we do this? All right, so we have the web page, the style centered. I have a variable in case I want to change the overall size of it, but for my screen, and this is half the size, so my design was 600 by 600. And then here is my SVG, which I'm using bar and calc to get to sort of twice the size. And then I made it black. Okay. And here's now I'm in the body, my title, my SVG element, which is empty. I have, I'm expanding the namespace. At one stage, not for this program, for a different one, I thought this is like crazy old that I'm using HTTP and not HTTPS, but the other one did indeed fail when I switched it to HTTPS. So take that for what it's worth. Okay. I have some constant, which for me is the number of circles or the going across and also down. For Victor Vasarely's had 3, and that might be better sort of for a static design, but I found here that when it was dynamic, it was sort of nicer when n was even, because you have these things where, when the squares sort of combine, that part is nicer with an even number. Okay. I have a timer. I'm not going to stop the timer, but I still, out of habit, just tend to give my timers timer IDs. The H is for the hue, so I'm changing the color. You may have noticed this color changing as time goes on. It just was sort of pinkish, now it's going sort of yellowish. And then I'm moving things in time, so I have a time parameter. This is me getting the size. Again, I only wanted that half size number, that 300 in one place. And so, but it's going to be incorporated into that number is going to be incorporated into my design, and I need it here in JavaScript. So this is me getting that 300 out of, which is half the size, out of the variable set up there in the style. Again, here was the style variable. And this is me getting that variable in JavaScript to use. Okay. I am starting a timer and calling a function. I'm calling it after the name of the artwork. And I'm calling it every 33 milliseconds. Okay. And here's that function. I'm just clearing out anything I might have had before. Again, I think I'm don't know if I completely need that, but probably do. I'm incrementing my time. I am changing my hue. Hue is a number. It's a degree. This is a color model that involves sort of a circle, that the color sort of goes around a circle. And so, the measurement, the unit is degree. And so once I get above 360, I'm dividing by 360 and taking the remainder, doing the modulus. And so I'm always getting a number between 0 and 360. Okay. Often when I have these like 2-dimensional lattices, I have I and J. For this one, I've decided for whatever reason just to work with a single loop. So instead of working with a nested loop, I'm working with a single loop. And then the way I tend to get rows and columns is by playing with integer division and modulus. So let's say I'm going up here, my n was 4, so I'm going up to 4 by 4. I'm going up to, I'm going from 0 to 15. I'm setting my color. The H was variable, the saturation and the lightness I set at 80 for both of them. Okay. I am making a circle. And here is, I'm playing again, I said, with the modulus and the integer division. So I'm taking my counter I and dividing it by n, taking the modulus. And so that remainder goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. And so I'm using that, multiplying it by my width, and then it's the center that you give in a circle in XML, in the XML of SVG. So I added another half W to it. So this is going 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, multiplying that by W, adding another half W. For the center, vertical center, I'm dividing, taking my counter and dividing by n and taking the integer. JavaScript doesn't have sort of like integers as sort of separate as from floats. Like in some languages, you have an integer division. You divide 3 by 4 and you get 0. Here, if you divide in JavaScript, if you divide 3 by 4, you get 0.75. But then I can do the parse int, and then I can get my 0. Anyway, so this goes 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3. I'm using that for the center Y, and again, adding the half W. I am giving it a radius. This F is saying how big is the circle compared to my, so F is sort of basically sort of 5%. So I am taking twice the percent. I'm taking a little bit of the percent off on both edges. So I'm coming 5% in from the top and 5% in from the bottom. And so that's 1 minus 2f, and then I'm dividing it by 2 because it's a radius. I'm filling it with the color, and I'm adding it. So those are my circles. Fine. I am doing the same for these black static squares that sit in the middle. So I'm making a rectangle. I'm playing the same game here with I% n and I divided by n with a parse int. And a rectangle, you work with x and y, so that is the upper left-hand corner, and I'm working with a third. So I want it to be a third of the way in of my basic unit, my basic cell. Okay. And the width is a third of my basic W. Okay. So that is my width and my height. I filled it in. I made those black, sort of the opposite of what Vasarely did, and added. So that was my 16 circles and my 16 squares, and those are the static ones. And now I've made another loop, and this one's going over n times n minus 1. And so this is going, for me, since my n was 4, it's going 12. And that is, I'm going to make the other cells, the other squares. And so for these ones that are sort of in the same row with the static ones, I need 4 rows of 3. And then for these ones, these ones that are in the same column as my static ones, I want 3 rows of 4. So they both need 12, but they need 12 in different ways. And so I'm going to play my trick with my modulus n and my parse int n, but sometimes I'm going to be using n minus 1 to get, when I need the 3. Okay, so here is that loop over, I'm going up this time to 12, but it would, as if I changed n, it would change. I'm making a rectangle. And so here is the x, and these are moving. So the x here has, I'm playing around here with I modulus n minus 1, because this is the sort of row. So this is the, I'm dividing here by 3, so that's going to give me 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2. So this is the 3 things in a row, and then I'm going to have 4 rows. So in the y, every time I get, I'm dividing here by n minus 1, so it's 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3. And the width and the height are a third. And again, back up here, the x, these are the ones that are moving horizontally. So it is the x that is time dependent. It is, I have a cosine, so the cosine function varies. And then I have this I %2, so I'm taking my counter I and dividing it by 2 and taking the modulus. So that goes 0, 1, 0, 1, so that alternates. And I'm multiplying that by pi, and that's inside my cosine. So every other one is sort of, I'll say 180 degrees out of phase in the cosine. So it's the opposite part of the cosine and moving in the opposite directions. So if this is moving in the positive, that one's moving in the negative. And the next one is in positive. So that is that game, make that square, time-dependent position, add it. And so that was these horizontal ones. Oops. And then the vertical ones. Okay, so now I'm back in the vertical ones. I have 4 in a row, but only 3 of those rows. But so I'm back to dividing by n. And so I'm dividing by 4 and taking the modulus. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3 to get me my 4 columns of these guys. And the x is fixed. And the y, it's the y this time that are changing. So these are these up and down ones. And sort of play the same game here, except it's n instead of n minus 1, because I have 4 columns and 3 rows, whereas above I had 3 columns and 4 rows. Again, play with the cosine, which is time dependent, and have this game here where they're sort of alternating. So when this one's going down, this one's going up. When this one's going down, that one's going up. So that is playing with this high game over here. And then I needed it to change row to row as well. So when this one is coming down in this row, this one needs to be going up. So that's this extra little thing here. So it's not dependent just on the function on I, and parseInt I divided by n gets me both my row, my column to column behavior, but also my row to row behavior. Okay. And I get them, and that's all multiplying a pi, so I'm getting this sort of opposite phase. The width was a third, the height was a third, the fill was black. I added it at the bottom of my script. So again, so now we can see some of the various properties here. I can change the n and make it 5 or 6. Again, I thought it looked nicer with an even number. And that's what I wanted to show you with this one. Thanks for your attention.